Today we continue with our class Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We start with Sefer Chofetz Chaim. Big topic is the same, the laws of derogatory speech, and today's topic, matters of taste. It would seem that there is nothing derogatory about the statement of taste. To say I don't like dried wine is a description of the speaker preference and not a critical evaluation of wine. Ostensibly, then one should be allowed to say that one does not like the oratory style of a given lecture. In fact, however, such a statement is generally prohibited, for they imply that the speaker lacks of effectiveness. So it's a very interesting example, right? So you can say, I don't like, just go from this example. Chofetz, he said, I don't like dry wine, right? So there is no problem. You can like or do not like. It does not make the wine better or worse. But we say when we don't like somebody oratory style, like some rabbi. I mean, if it's kosher rabbis, different rabbis have different style. Some of them teaching like different subjects. For example, somebody goes into some laws like would be very boring for other people. Does not mean that he is not knowledgeable. Does not make him any boring. Okay, some clowns just tell stories from the beginning to the end. All right, so let's stop here. Continue. Let's get to the Shulchan Aruch, and we're on now it's Siman 46. So wow, it's a very long Siman, Baruch HaShem. 46, and we are in halacha number 35, and our big topic is the laws of forbidden foods. Okay, 35. Foods with infestation is food in which infestation is common must be examined for insects before they may be eaten. Fruits that are commonly develop worms while attached to the tree must be opened and examined internally. Kitzur discussed the details of these laws. Okay, so let's read, and then we're going to explain how it is applied today, because today I think it's more applicable than in olden days, even in many cases. So let's see. With respect to any fruit that commonly develops worm while it is attached to the tree, if 12 months has passed since it was picked, it is permitted without internal inspection. This is because any creature that has no bones, such as worm, cannot survive for 12 months. And thus, even if there was a worm in a fruit while it was attached, one may assume that it was already disintegrated and become like a dust. Very interesting. So before we continue, let's try to explain. So fruits can be preserved for a very long time. So looks like they say 12 months. So, and worm, I'm not sure why would it die if it has all of this fruit to eat. I'm not sure why. That's I think it's a good question, right? But anyway, if it's going to die from maybe I guess that the lifespan is less than a year of the worms. That's only my guess. So if it's going to die, and it becomes a dust, so the dust is not forbidden to eat. Basically, that's very interesting. So today, do we have a fruit that like 12 months preserved for 12 months? I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. Continue. However, I mean, if they were preserved, it's in a dry form. That's a different story. However, due to the concern that the fruit become wormy after it being picked, one must examine them externally and discard the worms or gnads that found on the outside of the fruit. Okay, so let's try to understand. So last time we said when there is a worm that was developed in a fruit while it was attached in a tree, that's this worm is part of the fruit, right? But once it came out, right, that's already an issue. So that's why they say. Just 1 second. So one more time, the last sentence we explain. However, due to the concern that fruits became wormy after being picked, so I mean they came from the ground or from a different fruits, meaning the worm came from one fruit, entered another fruit, right? They must examine them externally. So externally means that they came from outside, but in the first case, it could be, as we said, that the worm developed in the fruit itself. So from outside, you would not see anything. It's very interesting. That's why they say in some cases you would need to open up the fruit, right? And okay, so and discard the worms and gnads that are found outside the fruit. So basically, the many people ask the question if this insect made the food impure, like or not kosher. So you have a fly fell into your I don't know, soda or something, right? So no, there's no problem. You just fly is not kosher, but soda is kosher. Maybe it's not good for you, but it's still kosher. You understand? So that's why Kitzur says get rid of the worms and gnats, and you can eat the fruit. There is no problem. 73 commentary. Fruits that have a tendency to become infested while still upon the tree are the more likely to develop worms after they are picked. Okay. Thus, even if there is no concern for internal infestation, they require external examination. When there is no concern for infestation at all, no examination is required. So, I guess today when they spray, for example, apples, right, they spray with all of this chemicals many times, and they're like I have never seen a worm or something like in the fruit. So you always inspect, and in most of the time there are no worms. But if you buy organic stuff, and that's where you might find worms and flies. Okay, continue. The precedent suffices for one who intends to eat fruit raw. If one for one who intends to cook them, additional procedure is required. So what is okay? So let's see the commentary, and we're going to explain. We have learned that the worms that form inside the fruit after they become detached are not forbidden until they emerge from the fruit and crawl. So just to remind us, that's what we said last time. So one more time, I'm going to read and explain. We have learned that worms that form inside of the fruit after they become detached are not forbidden until they emerge from the fruit. So technically, if this worm if it developed while it was attached to the tree, it's a problem. Why is it the problem? It's very simple. It is a problem because it is attached to the ground. So even though it crawls inside of the fruit, as we explained last time, and just to remind us, right? It's still since the tree is attached to the ground and the fruit attached to the tree, it's like it was crawling on the ground. But once it was detached from the tree, so it's no longer attached to the ground, and sometimes, as we said, and commentary that just remind us, the worm can develop, right? So if while it's still inside of the fruit, it's not forbidden to eat it. Is it good to eat it? I would say no, but there is no prohibition of eating. That's the thing, right? But once it came out, like stick his head out and then came back in, that's already a problem. Okay, continue. Thus, once the worms on a surface have been discarded, one may eat the fruit raw, since any eternal worms are permitted. Okay, so while it's still attached, so when you just pick the fruit from no, 1 second, one more time, I don't want to say something wrong, 1 second. Once the worms on the surface have been discarded, right? Okay, so you see that there are worms, one may eat the fruit raw, since any internal worms are permitted. So meaning, so we assume we assume that all of the worms that develop only after we picked up the fruit. Okay. And we inspected, there are no holes from outside, so no problem. If the fruit are cooked, however, we must consider the possibility that before being cooked, a worm may emerge and crawl in the water or on a surface of the fruit or a pot, and then become mixed with the cooked fruit. One must therefore employ a following procedure to eliminate the worms that may be inside the fruit being cooked. That's very interesting. So that's it's very similar idea that we learned last time. The worms, I think, were in a vinegar or something, right? And we say, should we strain the vinegar or not? So, and we said there is a problem. So if you strain it, and it would be caught in this cloth, and then if we're going to fall down in a vinegar, that's the problem. So while it was developed in a vinegar, there is no problem. Okay, but if you try to strain it and it goes back again into vinegar, that's an issue. So same is here. So we're afraid that this worm, so while it is in a fruit, there is no problem, as you said. So, but if you're going to start cooking this fruit, so if the worm comes out and then goes in or remain in this dish, that's a big issue, of course. So what should we do? One should then place the fruit into cool water and agitate them thoroughly, so that the worms and the worm puncture fruit will rise to the surface, and he will discard them. Then one should place them, the remaining fruit, into boiling water, so that if a worm has remained in one of them, it will die immediately without emerging from the fruit. That's a very interesting thing. So we're going to deploy two strategies. One is cold water, try to get the worm out. So if we see the hole, so it's probably a worm, right? There is a worm there. So we should try to get it out. Right, one second. Then with the cold water, now with agitation, as he said, right? And now if it's not going to work, try it with boiling water. Okay, so if it's going to die inside, there is no problem. If it's never came out, died inside of the fruit, as we said, no problem. Okay, so let's read one more time just to make sure that we understood correctly. One more time. One should then place the fruit into cool water and agitate it thoroughly. So we try to get these worms out, so that the worms and a worm puncture fruit will rise to the surface, and he will discard them. So basically, they say do not use them. Okay, discard them. Then one should place the remaining fruit into boiling water. Okay, so that the worm has, if the worm remains in one of them, it will die immediately without emerging from the fruit. That's and in this case, as we explained before, it is going to be like part of the fruit. Commentary: placing the fruit into boiling water ensures that any remaining worms will be killed before they have chance to emerge from the fruit and crawl. That's so. If it one more time, if it emerges outside and crawls, that's forbidden. While it's in the fruit, it's allowed. Right? We can eat it. Of course, it's better to discard it, but okay. Nevertheless, we do not rely on the boiling alone to eliminate the worms, because it is not guaranteed to kill them before they can emerge from the fruit and crawl. Okay, which makes sense. I mean, you don't see them, but if you, I guess, if you inspect this apples or whatever you're using, you don't see the hole. It's like you assume that all worms are inside. Okay, if the worms are inside. Only after the majority of the worms have been removed through the soaking in a cold water, we rely on the boiling to eliminate the few worms that may remain. Shach. So okay, today I'm not sure of how applicable this thing is. 1 second. I just want to see. Okay, no, let's continue reading, and then we're going to see how it's applied today. Okay. However, one should not rely on this procedure except with legumes, lentils, and the like. So, like, even in these like small things, it could be worms inside, as we said, which have no pits, right? So, it's very interesting. So, worms like to be next to a pit. Only after 12 months have passed from when the fruit was picked. So fruit, even though these things that we discussed, they are not fruits but vegetable, but we still call them fruits. Just so you know, don't be confused. Okay, so let's do it again with commentaries. So we say, however, one should not rely on this procedure, except with the legumes, lentils, and the like have no pits. Commentary. All the worms develop inside fruit are not prohibited until they emerge. If worm develops in a pit of a fruit and then comes out of the pit into the pit's surface, it is considered having emerged and become prohibited. So that's very interesting. So pit is not part of the fruit, right? So usually, like if you see the worms, they usually come from the fruit itself, but some, as we just learned, some fruits, some worms come like develop inside of the pit. So if they go like still inside of the fruit but outside of the pit, they're already forbidden. Having emerged prohibited. Thus, the described method. So I'm just thinking, right? So that's like how does it apply today? It 100% applies to us today. So sometimes a person would say, yeah, it's only fruit. So a person buys some like canned fruits, right, or vegetables, and say what could be not kosher. So first of all, preservatives could be not kosher, but second of all is more important. Maybe there are worms in there. So for Gentiles, there is for non-Jews there is no problem to eat worms if they dead. There is no problem whatsoever. But for a Jew, I mean, the punishment is less, but still there is a problem with eating worms. Okay. Thus, the described methods of cleaning a fruit would not suffice to a fruit that contain pits, right? As we said, this agitation and stuff like that. So all of this, I guess, apricots, right? Plums. Okay. Containing pits, since the worms may already have emerged in double quotes, inside the fruit before being placed in the boiling water. So it's like too late, right? It's already forbidden. That worms is prohibited even though it never left the fruit. And then, so of course, and then if a person is going to cook the food, of course you're not going to like see where the worm is, because usually they're very close to the color of the fruit itself, right? This method therefore is effective only for the legumes and lentils, which have no pits. So even for the legumes like lentils, you would need to have a kosher stamp. So meaning that they would supervise how they were harvested. I mean, at least check, maybe not supervise the harvest itself, but the whole process. Okay, continue. Shah, however, disagree and rules that this procedure may be applied upon all fruits. Okay, no problem. So, but the Kitzur said only for these legumes. Continue, number 36. All of the fruits that require internal examination, internal meaning that you have to like cut up. One must open each and every one of them and discard the pits, in order that he be able to examine them very well. Meaning, maybe there were worms inside of the pits. Okay, so you have to open all of them. So if we're going to learn if it's possible there is a infestation. Possible. You're not sure. So you're not obligated to open up like all of them. You can check like randomly in some cases, but if you know for sure there is a very big chance there is an infestation, so you have to open all of them. Okay. One must be very careful about this requirement when preserving fruit in honey and sugar, as well when making lakwar, prune jam. Lakwar. Okay. So let's see what is the problem with lakwar. So it says if there are worm-infested fruits in a jam, the entire batch might become prohibited. Okay. So why is it can be prohibited? So let's finish and then we're going to explain. When there is a batch of fruit that requires examination, it does not suffice to examine only some of them. Okay. And even if one examination examined the majority of the batch and found insect-free, this does not suffice to permit the remainder. Rather, one must examine each and every individual fruit. So what is the problem? So on one hand, we said like before that if it's ratio 1 to 60, right? Permitted food is 60 times more than prohibited food. It's no problem. The prohibited taste was nullified. Yeah, but it's only when it's something happened accidentally, right? But if something like if you knew there's a big possibility that there are worms, so the whole nullification is not going to work. Okay, so and commentaries say since infestation is common, we do not rely on the examination of majority of the batch, right? So today, for example, we know there is infestation in a lettuce, for example, right? And all kind of lettuce. Infestation very common in a broccoli and cauliflower, and it's very difficult to check. So you cannot check like a few pieces of cauliflower and say that's good. So I have to like open up cut in smaller pieces, and same with broccoli. And I inspected broccoli and I found like this insect. They're not the good thing about this the insects I guess they're a little different color. So you can see they're much lighter than the broccoli itself. So it's possible to see. But since it's possible that they hide in somewhere like inside between these things, so you cannot just like pick and choose. Today, when you want to do like something like cook or bake something like apple pie or something, yeah, it's in apples today there is almost no worms. In regular ones that were like they spray the chemicals on it, so there is no problem. But still, but if you see a hole, like you have to do a visual inspection. If you see a hole, or you if you suspect something, absolutely you have to open like all of them then, all of the suspected ones. But strawberries we check for sure. So and many people what they do, so in strawberries they hide this. Bugs that hide like in a green stuff. So some people just cut completely green, and even with some red throughout. So right, so to be on the safe side. So continue, number 37. Sometimes large worms are discovered in the flour and the like. So that's another issue. So we had this issue a few years ago. I'm not sure what happened, but we bought several bags of flour, and in one of them there were worms, they're alive. I'm not sure We had it what, like 5 or something, like and we had it maybe for 6 months or so, and in one of them were worms. We had to throw out the whole thing. So in that's why when you sift flour, so we we're not allowed to use the flour like just take from the bag and use it. No, you have to sift it. And one of the explanation practical to make it puffy, that's understandable. But the more practical one is to see if there are worms. So worms are big enough. So when we saw the worms, like, we were shocked, but they're big enough. They're not going to fall through the sieve. That's which is good. Okay. So continue. Sometimes large worms are discovered in the flour and the like. So okay, he's saying large. Okay. And in order to remove them, it is sufficient to sift through the sieve. I mean, it's sufficient, but I mean, my wife said we're not going to. She said I'm not going to do that, and they still crawling. So we just put it the flour back, like in 2 bags, and threw out in the garbage. That was like too much. Okay, but technically, as we said before, these worms do not make this flour not kosher. You just have to separate them and throw out, and that's it. As the worms cannot pass through. No, yeah, I mean, so we say yes, it is sufficient to sift it through a sieve, as the worms cannot pass through. So as I said, they were like pretty big. Okay. However, if mites are discovered in it, sifting does not suffice, since mites pass through the sieve. So we have maybe in olden days it was a little different, but today we have like tiny holes in the sieve, so it's actually can catch all of the smallest things. Okay. And our flour, so one of the explanation, flour that we use today, it's much more pure than what people were using before, with all of the technology, with all of these things. Okay, one who has wheat kernels that are infested with worms must inquire halakhic authorities regarding how he may proceed to grind them. So commentary, let's see. If wheat is heavily infested, it should not be used. If it's mildly infested, grinding is permitted under the certain conditions. See Shulchan Aruch 84:14. I'm not sure. I never learned about these laws in details. I'm not sure how, like, why would they allow to grind? If they know they're infested, I'm not sure. Okay. I guess to us it does not apply, but some people, and I had students that asked me, they wanted to buy the wheat. They sell wheat on the internet, and they have a grinder attachment on the mixer, and they can grind basically whatever they want. So they asked me the question, so I said that there is no problem, but of course I hope it was not infested. I mean, okay. But anyway, they would sift, right? So they would sift after the grind. Anyway, okay. Any questions on what we said? Okay, so if not, so continue. Today, so we almost finished. Actually, I thought that it's much longer, but it's not. A few more pages about the worms and the worms actually, and coming up the worms in the fish. As we discussed last time, the worms in the salmon, some of them are permissible, and some of them not permissible. Okay, so number 38. Any food item that develops worms, but is a type that does not usually need to be inspected for worms, that is generally in insect free, may not be sold to idolater. Just 1 second, one more time. Any food item that develop worms, but is a type that does not usually need to be inspected for worms. There is generally insect free, so usually there is no problem with this, whatever is it. But today, whatever, in our case, it is a problem. So we found worms, so we cannot sell it to idolater, to non-Jew, right? Cannot. Why? When there is a basis for concern that perhaps he will sell it back to a Jew. Okay, so if he's a businessman, that's his trade, to buy and sell, that would be an issue. 1 second, let me see what's going on there. People joining, people dropping. I'm not sure. Joining more than dropping. That's good. Okay. So commentaries say, since the Jew would not expect the items to be infested. I'm not sure why. I mean, even if you buy from anybody, so even if it's usually not infested, but still you have to check just in case, right? Since it's possible that it could be infested. So one more time, since the Jew would not inspect the item to be infested, he might be unsuspectingly eat it without inspection and consume the vermin. To protect the buyer from this unwitting transgression, one must avoid selling to an idolater if he might sell it back to a Jew. So basically, if a non-Jew can buy it and he's going to eat it, as we said, there is no problem with to him, right? So they're not forbidden to eat like that worms. Of course, when I say worms, they're tiny. It's not like it's huge, right? If they cook them, there is no problem. Generally, this means that one may not sell to adultery large amount of the product. So here's, I guess, the answer. So if he buys a lot, so most likely he's going to resell. If he buys a little, so he buys for himself, which he might sell, but one may sell him a small amount that is suitable for personal use, which just makes sense. So as you see, this the halacha concerned that even though you don't want to deal with that, you don't want to remove these worms, you cannot pass this fruits or vegetable to another Jew, even through a non-Jew. It's very interesting, right? So we're trying to protect each other. This is, however, permitted to keep the food and make whiskey from it. Okay. And we are not concerned that perhaps this will lead him to a pitfall in which he or the members of the household will eat it as is instead of making whiskey from it. Okay, so we're going to read this part of the whiskey with commentaries. I'm not sure how do they make whiskey, but this permit is a subject to the qualification that one may not retain it for a long period of time. So let's see this piece again about whiskey. Okay, one is, however, permitted to keep the food and make whiskey from it. So let's see the commentary. Since the whiskey will contain only the taste of grain and not the actual kernels, it can be made even with kernels that are infested with worms. For elaboration of reasons, see task. So it's very interesting. So nobody is going to eat the kernels, but only like the taste of the kernels. Okay, so the kernels together with the worms, they're going to discard. Okay, very interesting. 82. Okay, and we are not concerned that perhaps this will lead him to a pitfall. So he is going to eat the worms, in which he or members of his household will eat it as is instead of making whiskey from it. So commentary. Although we prohibit the sale of this item to an idolater for the fear that it might be consumed by an unwitting Jew who does not expect it to be infested, we need not prohibit the owner from retaining it for a whiskey for the same reasons. Since the current owner is aware of the infestation, he will certainly not allow to be eaten by a Jew. Okay, so I'm not sure. It's not clear from this commentary what he's going to do with that. I mean, this person is going to keep it as a whiskey for himself or sell it to a non-Jew. Let me read this commentary one more time, try to understand. Although we prohibit the sale of this item to an idolater for the fear that it might be consumed by an unwitting Jew. So meaning the whiskey, unwitting Jew who does not expect to be infested. Maybe we're talking about kernels. We need not prohibit the owner from retaining it for a whiskey for the same reason. So meaning that another Jew might drink this whiskey. Since the current owner is aware of infestation, he will certainly not allow to be eaten by a Jew. Okay, no problem. Continue. But this permit is subject to the qualification that one may not retain it for a long period of time. Commentaries say rather one must use it for a whiskey soon, lest the infestation be forgotten and the food be eaten by a Jew. So that's today with all of the preservatives and all of the chemicals. So it's actually, on one hand they like a poisonous to your body, all of these preservatives that they add to the food, but on another hand they like save us from all of these infestations, which is a positive thing. Okay, so 39. Many types of vegetables are commonly infested with worms. So we're talking about a long time ago, so it's an old book. But today, we have different vegetables. Let's see. There are some that commonly infested with mites, and that which the women say that they single the vegetables in fire. That they singe vegetables in fire, and this rids them of their infestation. It is not effective. So women say it works, so Rabbi say it does not work. So some people, and if you check on ou.com or like on internet, you see how to do that. So some people they put this into microwave and try to get rid of this insect. So it's not such an easy thing. But so this heat is not going to help all the time. So continue, and we're going to explain. Rather, this species must be examined before consumption. So Chachmas Adam, nowadays many species of fruit and vegetables that would usually be infested are bug-free as a result of insecticide use. Okay, as we said, we spray these chemicals and they kill all of the bugs. Ideally, one should still check this species for infestation, since some of the farmers do not use insecticides. So I guess we're talking about this, as I said, organic. So if it's like commercial, like not organic, there should be no problem. But if you see a hole like on the side of your apple, you're obligated to check. However, in event that they are not checked, and it is no longer possible to do so, such as when they're chopped or graded, one may assume that they are sprayed and a box-free. Nonetheless, a scrupulous person should refrain from eating this species unless they are checked. Okay, see Igras Meshe or Chaim, etc. So today, like if you buy lettuce or like Romanian lettuce, like all of these lettuce, you must check. So, but of course, before you check, you must wash it. There is special sprays that they use. They call it veggie wash, right? So it's like soapy substance. I'm not sure what is inside. So of course, but buy only the kosher one. There is many of them have kosher stamps, but not all of them. So I'm not sure what this non-kosher use, but we should not care. We wash few times. So and after a few times, you start checking these vegetables. So unless you have a lot of extra times and you want to eat broccoli, so that's the only way to do that. Like you wash thoroughly, maybe one time, two times, three times, and then check under the magnifying glass, or there is a special table I forget, they call it inspection lamp, like for the light from the bottom, like ultraviolet, and you check for bugs. But I would say these broccoli and cauliflower, they're very it's not easy to check and time consuming. If you have extra time, yeah, you can do it. But if not, better not to. But this lettuce, like almost all of the lettuces, there might be a problem, even though they say, yeah, we grew it in a scent. It's not going to be any bugs. Don't believe that. You must check anyway. So we bought this lettuce. We paid I don't know, almost double. We found bugs. Okay. So continue. Moreover, there are some. So that's one. The most one of the things that people make mistake. They when they try to start eating kosher, and they would go to restaurant, not kosher restaurant, and eat salad. So the person said, "What did I eat? I ate only salad. What's the problem?" So that's the issue. Exactly, it's a salad. Non-Jews are not obligated to check, and according to government standards, they allowed so many bugs on 1 square inch. I think there is a law you can go and check on the internet on what is in your state. So for them it's not an infestation. For a Jew, every tiny bug is infestation. That's already forbidden. But for them, it's according to government, there is no problem. So you're not, if you decided to go kosher, if you so for sure we cannot eat even salad. Nothing you can eat in non-kosher restaurant. Zero, exactly zero. And same in a restaurant, if it's people there not religious, semi-religious, there is no supervision, no kosher supervision, or there is a supervision, but the guy is worse than the owner itself. So okay, so we don't eat in these places, of course. Even salad. So people would think that salad is what could be wrong in a salad? It's a pig. Yeah, it's worse than a pig. So pig in order to violate the prohibition of eating pork, you need to eat kizayis. Kizayis is 28 grams, is 1 ounce, a little less than 1 ounce, right? So, but for worms, a tiny worm is equal to the kizayis of pig. So that's the thing that people get confused about. Okay, continue. It is appropriate for a God-fearing person to avoid eating them entirely. Okay, so if you know there is an infestation, so sometimes they say in a blueberry, but if you wash the blueberries thoroughly and you check a few of them, few of them, so there should not be any problem. So me personally, I never find anything in blueberry. In raspberry, yes, but in blueberry, I have never found. I mean, when I say not found, after we washed it several times, just okay, that's the thing. There also are some types of fruit whose pits are commonly infested with worms, and it is prohibited to eat them. There is a pits. So 86. Okay, they do not say what example, so I'm not aware of this pits that have worms inside. I'm not sure. Okay, continue. It is very common for nuts to be infested with mites. Yeah, that's. I saw what did they say in a peanuts. Right. Okay, and in the cashew nuts also. Okay, one second. With mites, and the way to determine the presence of this infestation is as follows. We're talking about nuts now. When removing the edible portion from the shell, if one strikes the shell against something warm, the mites that have remained in the shell will emerge. One must be very careful about this infestation. Okay, very interesting. If one strikes the shell against something, I'm not sure. I mean, he already took out the fruit, and now he strike the shell. So I mean, even though there is infestation, but you care about the fruit itself. I mean, the nut itself. Okay. So continue. 41. Any questions on what we said so far? This infestation. So, one second, let me check. Time. Okay. All right, no problem. Continue. Sometimes it is found with the fruits. That have been preserved in honey and sugar. That's crazy. That there are mites around the walls of the container above the fruit. In this situation, one must clean it. There is a mouth of the container as well, and also remove some of the food until it is certain that no mites remain in the food. So we have to see. Let's see the commentary and understand why. So basically, the mites, I think, because they're lighter, so they came out of the food. They're lighter. They go to the top of the container. Very interesting. These mites generally remain on a container rather than on a fruit. That's good for us, right? One must remove the upper portion of fruit only, as a precaution against possibility that some of them descended into the fruit. Okay, so of course you remove the mites. So since they're lighter, they would go on top and be on the sides of on the mouth of the container. That's amazing. I mean, good for us. So we would not need to throw out the whole jar. Okay, number 42. If one cut a fruit or a radish with a knife, and while doing so, cut through a worm that was inside them, one must wipe the knife well, and also peel off the bit of the radish or the fruit at the place where it was cut. So, I mean, it never happened to me, Baruch HaShem, but it's very possible if something is infested, so that the worm is moving around. We cut the thing, right? The radish or the fruit, as they say. So you cut this worm. So technically it was cold, right? Cold. We're going to learn on Thursday what does it cold means. So the knife did not become not kosher, right? It's still kosher, so you just wipe the residue, and there is no problem. And the cut like around where the worm is, so to make sure that there is no parts of the worm still on the fruit. Okay, commentary. When it cut through the worm, the knife became smeared with its residue. It's understandable, which in turn become smeared the fruit as it was cut further. So he cuts okay, sorry if it's discussed. So he cuts the fruit and and he continue this motion with the knife, and it's smears the residue from the worm on the whole side of the fruit, so on the surface, right? Therefore, one must peel off the surface that it was cut. So cut like tiny layer, right? And also clean the knife before it's used again. Ordinarily, if a non-kosher knife is used to cut sharp foods, such as radish, we refrain from eating the entire food, right? Because radish like absorbs the taste. Because non-kosher flavor absorbed in a knife spreads out through the sharp food more readily than other blunt food. So it's a different topic, and BeEzrat HaShem we're going to go into details in our Thursday class, kosher kitchen class. So just to give us some ideas, since they mention it, I'm not sure if they're going to mention. It looks like no. Okay. So these sharp foods like radish, or onions, garlic, and others. So they can extract the food, the taste from this non-kosher knife. So that's the thing. So it's we try to use for all of the vegetables a separate knife, a separate part of knife that then it should be no problem. But if you try to cut the vegetables with a meat knife, that's it. So I mean, especially this, so that they become meat. If you cut onions, right? If you cut onions with a meat knife, even though it was clean for more than 24 hours, these onions become like meat, right? Halachically, of course, halachically. Right? In the current situation, however, it suffices to peel away the surface that touch the knife, which contain actual residue, right? Because the flavor imparted by worms is repulsive. Of course, nobody wants to eat it, and it is not considered significant enough to render the entire food forbidden. Okay, so on one case it is repulsive, right? But on another on one hand, on another hand, this worm, as we said, does not make the food non-kosher. So all of the residue, like, it's only on the like external. So you just cut a little piece and that's it. You can continue eating. Like if you have a fly in your soda, you just take out the fly and continue drinking the soda, no problem. Okay. 88. Okay, so let's do maybe a few more. Sometimes worms are found in fish. So we discussed it last time. Very interesting. In the brain, liver, intestines, mouth, or gills. Okay. Specifically, the fish called hecht, pike. Right, okay, pike. Okay, they sell pike in our stores. There are sometimes long, tiny worms. Where this is common, there is a fish must be examined. Okay, so let's try to understand. So before we continue, there is one commentary. So let's do the commentary. Worms that develop in fish are permitted as long as they have not emerged. Any worms found in the flesh of the fish are permitted to have, are presumed to have developed within the fish, and are permitted. However, the worms found in the organs listed here may have come from the water and found their way inside of the fish. They are therefore prohibited. Any questions? Somebody wants to ask a question?
I want to ask something about what I have just heard. About onions that you cut and they became meat.
If you, I apologize. If you, I said if you cover it with a meat knife. So if you cut it with a meat knife, even though it's clean, even though it was for 24 hours, clean. So that's the problem with the sharp food. What?
Immediately they become meat, or
yes, yeah, right away. So meat. When I say meat, it's in double quotes, right? Meat. So you cannot use these onions if you want to do like cheese omelet. That's it. So it's like meat. So but we're going to learn it. So it's only with these sharp things, sharp vegetables, and knife. That's the combination. So when we're going to learn how to kosher knife, it's a little different from all other things, right? So you have to like stick in the ground, but I don't want to go into it. We're going to learn. So let's see the story with the fish. So the story with the fish. If you find these worms inside of the body, right? So inside of the body, as we said last time, and here they just confirm, these worms are presumed to be developed inside of the fish. So same concept as the worms that develop in the fruit after what detach from the tree. So these worms are part of the fruit and may be eaten. You want to eat it? Absolutely not. But technically, if you ate it by accident, there is no problem. So same with these worms in the fish. If it's in the body itself, in the meaty part, like on top of the stomach, there is no problem. But if it's in the head, right, in these gills, in intestines, that's the problem. That's not only a problem, that's a big problem. And as we said, it's very common. This infestation is very common in salmon. Right, salmon eats all of the shrimps, all of the other garbage. Right, shrimps eat garbage, and garbage including all of the worms, all of the dead fish. Like dead fish animal, when they die, they go in the bottom of the ocean, of the rivers. Right, shrimps eat them, and salmon eats the shrimps. So that's very very simple, right? And they have these worms. They came from outside. Of course, when we go to the store, you usually if you ever go to the fish store, right, and where they sell the whole fish, most of the fish you can buy with the stomach closed. Most of them. But the one for sure exception is salmon. I never have seen salmon with a stomach, with intestines in there. Why? Well, one of the explanations, because of the worms. They want to get rid of the worms. But all other fish, like farm raised or like wild caught, there is no problem. You can buy with the stomach there. So that's if you want to buy in any where I live, it's the store you usually owned by Chinese, right? Chinese people, they know how to preserve fish. They're good fishermen. They know what to do. So the freshest fish is by them on unbeatable prices. So if you want to clean it, there is no problem. Just buy with the stomach. That's it. So let's try to finish this halacha and we stop. Right, but let me just read one more time where you can find these worms, so we know. Must be examined, tiny worms. Just one second. Okay. So in the brain, in the liver. I'm not sure if anybody eats fish liver. I mean, if it's a big fish, yeah, we eat. Right, and some liver we eat. Intestines. Do people eat intestines? I don't know. Mouth. For sure, of course, it ate with the mouth and the gills. Okay. So one more time. Worms in a meaty part is allowed. In the stomach is not. In the stomach and in the head is not allowed. Okay. So one second. So that's why you cannot buy kosher fish, even though the fish is kosher, without kashrus. Why? Because if it's processed, so maybe they have infestation of the worms, so they never check it. I mean, they do not care simply. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so continue. Where this is common, there is the fish, right? The fish must be examined when there is a common infestation. Similarly, it is common with the herring that in the milky liquid there are tiny worms, and they must therefore be examined. I'm not. There's a herring I saw they sell in a store. They like it is preserved in like something like in a sour cream or something. So that's what they're talking about, right? So it could be tiny worms, I guess, from a milk also. I'm not sure like how they develop, but it's possible. There are also places where the fish have on the exterior near the fins, right, and also on the fins in the mouth and behind the gills. Okay, so I mean, like if you know like it's possible to have this the worm, so that's another additional places to check: the fins in the mouth, behind the gills. Very small insects that are round like lentils. That's crazy. In places where this infestation occurs, one must examine there's the parts of the fish, and any insects are found, scrape off thoroughly. So I mean, they usually this insect, where the worms, they usually don't go like inside of the fish, right? They just stay wherever in the stomach or in the brain of the fish, like in the head. There is a lot of room to crawl. Okay, so we can stop here. Any questions on any topic?
About this kosher food.
Yes.
For example, fish, meat, or whatever of this kind. Is there any forbidden part we shouldn't eat? Because I heard there is some part in a kosher animal that is not allowed to eat because it's hard to extract or something like that.
Okay, right. You ask very big question. It's there are a lot of parts that are forbidden to eat, but I'm going to give you like short answer because I'm not sure if this person I cannot see everybody who is on this class. So we belong in a different group. Like for 6 months, this laws. What are we just asking? So I'm going to give you like basic summary. So there are many parts in the animal that we cannot eat. Right? Some like even we're talking about kosher animals. First of all, we're not allowed to eat the fats, like internal fats that around the organs. So around the heart, around all of these organs, you're not allowed to eat fat. Fat that is stick to the meat, there is no problem. Okay. What else? So you're not allowed to eat a sciatic nerve, like on the leg, right? So and that's why. So Ashkenazi custom, for example, since we do not know exactly how to extract the sciatic nerve, even though we know where the nerve is, and even though we know like where the fat around this nerve, which is actually rabbinical enactment. So Ashkenazi custom, they cut like the behind part of the animal, right, the rear part of the animal completely, and sell it to non-Jews. So basically only the front part, and plus we don't need the blood, of course. We don't need don't need heart. So even though like it could be kosher, it could be like you do it heart or liver, even liver. Like I give you only like summary because there is too much blood in heart and the liver, so you can only singe it like over the like a barbecue. So the blood is going to drop, right? But usually people don't bother. It's kabbalistically it's not good. So to inherit all of the blood, all of these bad characters from the liver, from this heart, and all other organs. So it's preferably not to eat. Even though some of them are kosher, as I said, you can kosher them if you want. So in my local butcher, he does not sell heart, but he sells liver, like fresh liver, and you can do whatever you want with that. Okay, so forbidden. Okay, brain you can eat. So same thing with the brain. right? You like it's too much work, And what else? In a fish, we explain all these worms. Like you have to clean, you have to take care, and what else? I mean, there are many other issues, but those are the main ones. So it's better just to eat meat, like if it's big animal, like front part, of course, and that's it. Okay. So, but the thing is that some Sephardic people, they know how to clean, so they have tradition from a long time ago. They know how to cut out the sciatic nerve, and they eat behind part, right? But Ashkenazim do not do it. So that the problem is, for example, if I would go to Sephardic event, I would not eat meat. So because I don't know where it came from, I would eat chicken, for example. Okay, that's a summary. Okay, what else? Any other questions?
For me, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I remember it was one question on WhatsApp about Zion. So the question was, what does it Zion means in our prayers? It's not only in our prayers, it's all over the Tanakh. So Zion, it means it depends on the context. So Zion could be Jerusalem, could be a mountain, the Temple Mountain, could be the temple itself, right? And sometimes they mean the Israel as a country, so and the Israel as a nation. So there are like 5 different or 6 or how many meanings. So it depends on the context. Okay, what else? I think it was one question from last week that was asked like after we finish. Can somebody check, please? Joshua, maybe you can check. Okay, no problem. Israel, can you please check from last week, from yesterday? Yes, please.
In WhatsApp, there are.
WhatsApp, yes. I think it was 9:32, like after we finish.
Then I don't know if it was answered already.
Okay.
Can a Jew be buried on Mount of Olives in Jerusalem? Or
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Special to be buried. Yeah.
Okay, first, no, I think it's closed for a long time, so only special people can be buried there. So, but I think it's not a good idea to be buried there because that's where the Arabs are, like, a lot of Arabs, but it's not the Arabs are not the problem. But it says that Mashiach should come from there, so he should go through all of these dead people, which is not good. You understand? But they say, and our sages said, don't contaminate us with a dead body from the diaspora. So if you want to come, live in Israel, live, you're going to die. So that's it. Be buried in Israel, but don't bring us these dead bodies. And some people I know they buy these sites in Israel, and they like transport the body after a person dies. Is it proper? I don't think so. Okay, but all of the great rabbis, right, from some time ago, they all buried here, not somewhere else, right? Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, others, Rav Hutner, that's all of this. Okay. Any other questions? Any topic?
There is, I think the last one. Is it okay to buy salmon from the store if it is skinless?
It is. Is it problem to buy if it's skinless? So, if it's a Jewish store, there is no problem. But if it's kosher, not Jewish, but kosher store, there is no problem. But if it's non-kosher store, it is a problem. For sure, they use a non-kosher knife. You understand? That's the issue. We try not to buy. So if somebody wants there is no Jewish stores around, it's too expensive, to this, to that. As I said, there is a solution. Just buy the whole fish from any store, any non-Jewish store, and clean it yourself, and that's it. It's not as hard as it sounds. Okay, what else? Any other questions? We stop here. Okay, no problem. So let's stop here. So tomorrow, BeEzrat HaShem, the plan is we're going to finish with the Hilchas Talmud Torah and start the new series. BeEzrat HaShem. We'll see how it goes. All right. Thank you very much. Good night until tomorrow.